Yep, that's me.
Hello, beautiful bookish people. My name is Hannah, and if you couldn't tell from that intro, I love The Office. It's probably my favorite show. I've seen it about 9 times through, I think. It's just that classic show that I always go back to and watch whenever I'm feeling a little blue, or when I'm feeling happy, or when I'm basically watching it all the time. So today I thought it would be fun if I could recommend books to characters from The Office. And I'm really excited. I hope you are. So let's just get into it. So the first character is Michael. Obviously, have to start with our classic Steve Carell bad boss. So for Michael, I thought it would be good to recommend Crucial Conversations. I actually really like Michael, and I think he could be a great manager because he's charismatic, he cares about people, and when push comes to shove, he is a people person. But what gets in his way is his kind of emotions towards topics and subjects, and just like his oblivion to certain things and like trying too hard. So I think Crucial Conversations would be really good for him. A crucial conversation is basically where anything that the stakes are high, emotions are involved, and I think opinions differ, which is a lot of scenes from The Office. So yeah, Crucial. I think Michael should really read Crucial Conversations just to make him the best manager that he could possibly be for Dunder Mifflin. The next character I want to talk about is Dwight. And Dwight is very much a nature guy. He's a farmer. He is very good when it comes to making things with his hands. So I think the perfect book for him is Hatchet. Even though this is a middle grade, he would really enjoy it. I think he would read it, come back to me, and tell me how he could do things so much better. Because in Hatchet, I think a lot of the information he uses in the wilderness comes from his knowledge of TV, whereas Dwight would be like, these are just things I know. I think Dwight would really like this story about this little kid trying to survive in the woods and the repercussions of that. So the next character is Jim. Now I want to recommend this book to season 2 Jim, because I think he could relate a lot to it, and that is A Short History of the Girl Next Door by Jared Reck. This is about this guy who is in a friendship relationship with, I think it's actually a girl across the street, so false advertisement. And they have been best friends for a while, and then the girl starts to develop feelings for someone else, and it's all about how our main guy deals with it. It might strike a little too close to home, but what I think is really good about this book, in the end, it's not really about romantic gestures. It's not really about the climax and, you know, the thematic moment of confessing love. It's just about enjoying a person and your moments with them. And I think Jim could learn at least some things from this. I also think he would really like this because our main protagonist plays basketball and Jim plays basketball, so there's like a lot of things he could relate to. Oh, what am I doing? I don't know. So the next person is obviously Pam. We gotta go from Jim to Pam. Since I recommended something to season 2 Jim, I'm gonna recommend something to season 8 Pam, and that is Landline by Rainbow Rowell. This follows a girl named Georgie, and she is a television writer, sitcom actually. It fits. And she is finally getting her dream to work on this show that she's been working on since college. But because of that, she is not able to come home with her husband for Christmas, I believe. Suddenly, she starts picking up these landlines from her husband back in the 90s when he was just about to propose to her. So it's all about like remembering why you fell in love with someone, why they're the person you chose, and remembering why you're choosing to be in this relationship. So I think Pam would really relate to Georgie in this sense, because I think it would be good because in season 8 Pam is kind of going through the opposite situation but with Jim, so I think this could kind of open her eyes to some of maybe what Jim is going through. Yeah, I just think Rainbow Rowell, I think Pam would love her. Next person I want to recommend a book to is Ryan. And Ryan goes through quite the metamorphosis in The Office. He kind of starts off as a regular temp, then turns into a douchey upperman boss, and then kind of the epitome of fake deep hipster. So I want to recommend two things to Ryan, and that is Why We Broke Up. This follows a breakup between two people. This girl is gathering all the things that resemble the relationship, you know, like when you break up with someone, you give them a box of their things and all that stuff. I think Ryan would really like this exploration of why sometimes people aren't good for each other and how people have different motives in relationships. And I also think I'm recommending this to like the fake deep Ryan that's like, I'm an artist, and I think he would like the Humans of New York, but I don't think he would read it. I think he would just put it on his coffee table and be like, yo, this is humanity, I'm so artsy. But like he would never actually read it, you know what I mean? Like that's Ryan. Look, I love this. It's a super cool book. But yeah, so we gotta go from Ryan to Kelly. I love Kelly. She's one of my favorite characters, and she's like Ryan, kind of in this kind of bad relationship. It's very hot and cold. You kind of think maybe they shouldn't be in a relationship, but like I kind of ship it, and that's how I feel about The Hating Game. I think Kelly would find a lot, it hits close to home, and I think Kelly would like Lucy, because in the beginning Lucy kind of doesn't have a backbone, but by the end of the story she kind of transforms into this character that stands up for herself, and I think Kelly would really like that and maybe even find inspiration for her own life. I didn't say it, you did. Next, I want to recommend a book to Creed, and Creed is something. How do I explain Creed? He's the guy you kind of don't want to be alone with. His backstory is kind of all over the place, like kind of trippy and kind of creepy, but I think Creed would really like Fight Club. Similar to Creed, Fight Club has a unreliable narrator because you kind of don't know what's real and what's not real. Like Creed, you can kind of see the transition from a normal person to insane, like Creed. This is about a guy who's in an office who gets bored and starts a fight club, and you know what, I can see Creed doing that. So next is Angela, and Angela is this, she's like a judgmental cat woman who is very religious, and so I want to recommend her Little Do We Know, because I think it handles religious topics in an interesting way. I think Angela would be inclined to pick it up because of the religious elements, but it's never like shoved down your throat like, this is about Christianity. It's just like subtly woven into the story. And I think Angela could learn, like, you know, little comments and judgments that you make upon people can really affect you and your relationships with others, and I think Angela could serve to learn that, like what we learn with Hannah and Emery in Little Do We Know. Alright, we are only 2 away from being done, so everybody. So the next person I want to recommend a book to is Erin, and Erin is like such a sweetheart. She very much is an optimist and sees the best in people, but I think, you know, when she talks about her past, like reality just like hits you really hard. So what I would recommend to Erin is Ella Enchanted, because like while being under the confines of being a Cinderella retelling, I think it addresses like a lot of the questions and problems that Cinderella might have had, and it just kind of slaps you with that element of reality without you knowing it. If you haven't read Ella Enchanted, I would really recommend it because it's a great middle grade. So the last person that I want to end on is Oscar, who is kind of the office know-it-all. Him, Toby, and Pam have a book club that was called The Finer Things in Life, where they read things like, Angela's Ashes and like I think Foster. So you know that like Oscar has like a more mature reading level. So the book that I would recommend to Oscar is The Alchemist. So The Alchemist is about this boy who lives in Spain, and he has been told that his biggest dreams are at the pyramids at Egypt. So as he's going on that journey, he keeps running into people while they give him allegories for life. What I think The Alchemist does really well is it kind of is very straightforward with what it's trying to tell you and the messages of the themes. But in an effort to be very straightforward, it kind of leads you to have your own interpretation of what that means. Anybody really could get at least something out of it because it's so up to your own personal outtake from the story that it doesn't matter what your background is. Does that make sense? So I think Oscar would really like this story because I feel like he's possibly the only one in the office that like you could actually discuss philosophy with. The thing about The Alchemist is like if you read it at different times in your life, you can have different outtakes from it. So my outtake would be different from Oscar's. So I would just like to hear him talk about it, honestly, and talk about our journeys of life, because I think he would have some interesting things to say. So yes, that concludes the video. Thank you for letting me go down this like fantasy trip of like if I were ever to meet these characters, this is the book I would recommend to them. But besides that, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Keep reading and all that jazz. Hello, beautiful good book. Blah, 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 blah. Since I recommended something to blah, 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 blah. Love it for me. Ugh, there's nothing worse than the silent sound of mouth noises.